Tiffany Henyard has a new battle on her hands.
She is being evicted for not paying her rent, and now her landlord is talking about her past tenant troubles.
At some point, you would have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you.
It's a power grab.
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed super mayor, has become a controversial figure after a series of lavish expenditures and mounting political fallout, culminating in her eviction from her home. Despite living an affluent lifestyle, Henyard's extravagant habits starkly contrasted with the struggles faced by the constituents she was elected to serve. Her story raises urgent questions about accountability or the lack thereof. In a nation plagued by corruption, before the eviction, Henyard appeared to be living in luxury, indulging in a life of excess while her community grappled with serious challenges in the months leading up to her eviction. She was seen in Las Vegas enjoying an opulent lifestyle, even as her constituents struggled with economic hardships. Her lavish spending included a personal police detail worth over $1 million and an $888,000 budget for beauty treatments. She also splurged on first-class flights, luxury hotels, and expensive dining. One particularly extravagant Las Vegas trip included $8,400 on hotels, $3,700 on a round-trip flight, and $600 on dinner at a high-end steakhouse. Meanwhile, the residents of Dolton, Illinois, where Henyard held office, faced daily financial hardships. As the mayor focused on boosting her public image, she spent large sums on campaign billboards. But her disregard for fiscal responsibility began to attract scrutiny. The pressure grew as inquiries into her spending and misuse of public funds mounted. It soon became clear that her political survival and the luxurious lifestyle she had grown accustomed to was at risk. As if her political troubles weren't enough, Henyard now faces financial and legal difficulties. Her landlord raised her rent in August, leading to a prolonged battle with her landlord over unpaid rent, according to court filings. Henyard and her partner, Kamal Woods, allegedly refused to allow their landlord to inspect the property, despite owing $3,350 in unpaid rent. In September, the landlord filed for eviction, signaling the unraveling of Henyard's once glamorous life. Despite claiming to have plenty of funds, Henyard's actions suggested otherwise. She and Woods seemed to prioritize luxury vacations and indulgent spending over paying rent, leading to tension with their landlord. The situation escalated when the landlord raised the rent by $200 to $400 a month to cover rising property taxes. Woods reportedly refused to pay the higher amount, claiming it was unaffordable. Things worsened when Henyard and Woods ignored eviction notices and failed to communicate with the landlord. The landlord, who had recently lost her job, was now at risk of losing her own home due to their refusal to pay rent. Frustration grew as authorities struggled to deliver eviction notices, with a process server needing to track down the couple. As Henyard's behavior caused her political standing and financial stability to collapse, citizens watched in disbelief. Once a figure of power and prestige, she now faces a harsh reality as her lavish lifestyle and neglect of basic responsibilities have put her in conflict with both the law and the people she was elected to serve. The unfolding eviction saga serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked power, the consequences of personal excess, and the critical need for accountability in public office. The viral nature of her downfall raises important questions about the role of integrity in leadership, and the fallout from this scandal could have long-lasting effects on her future.
At some point, you would have to understand that karma is going to catch up to you.
As Mayor Tiffany Henyard's term unravels, the ongoing eviction dispute over her home has become a symbol of the broader failings of her leadership. What began as a personal issue concerning unpaid rent has morphed into a powerful representation of her administration's dysfunction. The property owner, evidently fed up with the situation, has placed Henyard on a month-to-month lease, signaling the end of her time at the residence. However, the dispute has come to symbolize far more than just a housing issue. It encapsulates growing frustration with her leadership and the erosion of public trust in her governance. Henyard's time in office has been marred by accusations of power abuse, chaos, and mismanagement, allegations of irresponsible taxpayer spending, attempts to block transparency efforts, and an ongoing FBI investigation into her administration have left residents questioning her ability to lead. For many, the eviction is not just about unpaid rent. It is emblematic of Henyard's broader failure to govern effectively and ethically. The situation reflects a deep disconnect between the mayor and the people of Dolton, highlighting concerns over her commitment to the job and the integrity of her administration. Her lavish spending habits have long been a point of contention, Reports suggest that public funds were misused to support Henyard's extravagant lifestyle, a stark contrast to the financial struggles of Dolton's residents. As citizens grappled with inadequate public services, rising debt, and a lack of resources, Henyard was seen jet-setting to luxury destinations, dining at high-end restaurants, and hosting lavish events, expenses allegedly funded by taxpayer money. This stark contrast between her lifestyle and the needs of the community has deepened the rift between Henyard and those who once supported her. With many questioning her priorities and values, the gap between Henyard and the public has only widened due to the dysfunction in her administration, which has been characterized by a consistent refusal to take responsibility. The ongoing eviction dispute over her home is just the latest example of how her personal comfort and image have seemingly taken precedence over the well-being of the community. Her failure to address basic issues like rent payments and lease requirements mirrors the larger pattern of neglect that has plagued her leadership. Transparency has also been a persistent issue under Henyard's administration. Watchdog groups, journalists, and local trustees have repeatedly attempted to access financial data but have been met with resistance. Legal battles have been fought to uncover the truth behind her administration's finances. Yet Henyard has continued to obstruct these efforts. Her refusal to provide requested information, even when ordered by higher authorities, has fueled suspicions that she is hiding something. This pattern of avoiding accountability is once again on display in the case of her eviction dispute, underscoring her broader approach to governance simultaneously. An FBI investigation into Henyard's financial dealings has intensified the scrutiny surrounding her leadership. Federal officials
I think the money is worth it. The cash up front is not worth it. I would have rather rented to someone who, is an honest person and goes to work.
Are reportedly investigating allegations of financial mismanagement, political intimidation, and the misuse of public funds under the guise of charitable efforts. The investigation, combined with the eviction dispute, has highlighted troubling parallels between Henyard's personal and professional conduct. The mounting evidence suggests she has acted with a sense of impunity, believing herself to be untouchable despite the increasing criticism and legal challenges. As residents of Dolton grow more frustrated with Henyard's leadership, many are calling for her resignation or removal from office. The belief that she has neglected both her moral and legal obligations has sparked widespread outrage. Critics argue that her actions, including her repeated vetoes, delays in responding to requests for transparency, and allegations of political intimidation, reflect a deliberate effort to avoid scrutiny. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard has continued to reject calls for accountability, further alienating herself from the public she was elected to serve. Her attempt to portray herself as a victim of unfair persecution is becoming less convincing to the public as more accusations surface. Confidence in her leadership has eroded, and the situation in Dolton looks increasingly dire. The eviction dispute, far from being a personal matter, has become a symbol of the deepening crisis in the mayor's office. Once seen as a powerful figure, Henyard now finds herself at the center of a growing storm of controversy. Dolton, a town already struggling with financial difficulties, malfunctioning services, and rising debt, has seen its woes exacerbated by Henyard's leadership. The eviction dispute, the FBI investigation, and the mounting accusations of misconduct all point to a broader issue. Henyard's leadership has failed to address the needs of the community. As the drama surrounding her personal and professional life continues, residents are left wondering how much longer the turmoil will last, and whether any resolution is on the horizon. The dysfunction of her administration is now on full display, and Henyard's position seems increasingly untenable. Her refusal to take responsibility, combined with her extravagant spending and lack of transparency, has left her isolated. Even her supporters have grown silent or distanced themselves from her. With growing frustration among Dolton's residents and mounting legal and political pressure, it seems likely that Henyard's time in office is coming to an end. This eviction dispute, while seemingly just another chapter in her history of scandals, could well be the tipping point that marks the final act in her troubled tenure as mayor.
Get more interviews out of me. As long as y'all good to me, I'll be good to you. I have no issues. I just wanted people to say my side of the story and not just paint me as bad news, because it's not the truth, and y'all been witnessing it yourself.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure in Dolton has been overshadowed by a series of scandals, investigations, and growing controversy. While her ongoing eviction crisis is a personal issue, it has become a catalyst for more serious accusations that extend far beyond her home. One of the most damaging allegations against Henyard is the mismanagement of Dolton's finances. a problem that was uncovered by an investigation led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The inquiry revealed a troubling $3.65 million deficit in the town's general fund, exposing widespread financial mismanagement in a community already struggling with limited resources. In addition to the financial crisis, the FBI has launched its own investigation into Henyard's administration. The probe has uncovered a range of serious allegations, from her indirect involvement in a sexual assault case to claims of wrongful terminations. These revelations have fueled public outrage, casting a harsh light on Henyard's alleged abuse of power and raising questions about her ability to lead. As the investigation intensifies, scrutiny of her leadership has only deepened. The mounting allegations, coupled with her failure to address the community's basic needs, have caused many residents to question her fitness to serve as mayor. Henyard's tenure as supervisor of Thorne Township has also faced heavy criticism, with local township trustees demanding transparency regarding her financial activities. Critics argue that her handling of public funds represents a flagrant misuse of taxpayer money, further straining tensions within the community. These concerns have fueled widespread calls for Henyard's resignation. One particularly troubling claim comes from local business owner Lawrence Gardner, who has publicly accused Henyard of extorting his trucking company for $3,500 in exchange for a village license. Gardner alleges that after he stopped contributing to her campaign, his license renewal was abruptly denied, suggesting a pay-to-play scheme designed to exploit local businesses. The FBI has reportedly interviewed Gardner and other residents as part of its ongoing investigation, adding additional pressure on Henyard as the federal probe expands. In addition to these allegations, Henyard's nonprofit organization, Tiffany Henyard Cares has come under heavy scrutiny. The Illinois Attorney General's office issued a warning letter after the organization, which was supposed to support cancer patients, failed to submit required financial reports. Critics have raised questions about whether the nonprofit was genuinely serving the community or being used for personal gain. This revelation has further damaged Henyard's reputation and raised suspicions about her true motives as a leader. The growing perception of Henyard's government as one marked by self-interest, secrecy, and a lack of accountability has left many Dolton residents feeling betrayed. Initially hopeful for progress under her leadership, they now face a series of accusations that paint Henyard as increasingly disconnected from the struggles of the community. Her extravagant spending on travel and luxury purchases has led many to believe that she prioritizes personal enjoyment over the well-being of Dolton's citizens. Meanwhile, critical issues such as infrastructure, education, and public safety have gone largely unaddressed. Despite the growing public discontent, Henyard continues to portray herself as the victim of political attacks. However, many locals find this narrative difficult to.
You or your administration, y'all need to go. Mayor, you might as well step down too. Because I'm tired of that.
Believe, given the harsh financial realities they are facing, allegations of excessive spending. Campaign paint a picture of a leader who is out of touch with the needs of her community. Her refusal to address these concerns has only deepened the frustration among residents. Henyard's continued resistance to transparency has further heightened tensions with local trustees and watchdog groups who have struggled to access spending records. This stonewalling has led to legal action and state intervention to compel her to release the requested information. This pattern of avoidance has become a hallmark of her leadership style, fueling the belief that she is trying to conceal unethical behavior and financial mismanagement for Dolton's taxpayers. The lack of transparency feels like a betrayal, especially as the town faces significant challenges in areas like infrastructure and public services. As Henyard's leadership continues to unravel under the weight of mounting allegations, many are left wondering how much longer the drama will persist. The FBI investigation, growing public dissatisfaction, and the unresolved financial crisis have left Dolton's future uncertain. Once seen as a powerful figure, Henyard now faces an increasingly bleak situation, with her credibility and support rapidly diminishing. Despite her attempts to portray herself as a victim, the mounting evidence against her, combined with the continued pressure from federal authorities and local residents, makes it clear that her time as mayor may soon be coming to an end. Controversy, with her financial troubles and legal battles now taking center stage. Despite facing multiple lawsuits, a federal investigation, and an eviction notice, Henyard has repeatedly denied any wrongdoing. Evicted Mayor Tiffany Henyard's tenure has been marked by scandal, mismanagement, and her spokesperson claims she is unaware of any FBI probes or subpoenas. A statement that is becoming increasingly difficult to believe given the mounting allegations against her. With her reputation in tatters and her political career hanging by a thread, many are left wondering how much longer Henyard can hold on to power. Once seen as a powerful leader in Dolton, her status is rapidly diminishing, and both residents and political insiders are questioning her ability to continue serving. One key moment that highlighted Henyard's faltering leadership came during the recent Democratic caucus for Thornton Township, a meeting held to select candidates for leadership roles. For the first time in 30 years, the caucus process was used to choose candidates, and the outcome was a blow to Henyard's political aspiration. She hoped to secure the supervisor position but was disqualified from the ballot due to a critical mistake, failing to include a professional assessor on her slate, a requirement for the caucus. This disqualification was a major setback for Henyard, and her political allies soon fractured, causing her slate to collapse. The situation took a more humiliating turn when State Senator Napoleon Harris, who also serves as the Thornton Township Democratic committeeman, capitalized on the chaos. He orchestrated the caucus process and ultimately won the crowd's support, leaving Henyard sidelined. Unwilling to accept defeat, Henyard stormed the caucus venue, visibly upset, and accused Harris and his team of rigging the process. Dressed in a bright pink outfit, she made an angry outburst, but her actions only added to her downfall. As Harris made the official announcement of his nomination, the crowd erupted in applause, and Henyard was met with chants of "nah nah hey hey, goodbye." In an attempt to salvage her reputation, Henyard brought in buses full of supporters from Thornton Township. However, many of the buses were delayed, leaving her followers stranded outside. Furious, she accused the caucus process of voter suppression, claiming the entire event was illegal and even threatened to sue those involved. However, legal experts, including Harris's attorney, dismissed her threats as baseless. Burton Oldson, Harris's attorney, clarified that the caucus was a legitimate democratic process and that Henyard had no legal grounds for a challenge. Despite her fury, the legitimacy of the caucus was upheld, and Harris emerged yes. The fallout from this event has only further jeopardized Henyard's political future. While some of her supporters still hold out hope that she can turn things around, others are beginning to distance themselves, recognizing that her time may be up. As rivals like Harris and Harvey Mayor Christopher Clark position themselves for leadership roles, Henyard's remaining followers are divided. Some still believe she can pull off a political miracle, while others are now celebrating her downfall. Henyard's path forward is unclear. The only option for her to remain in the race would be to run as a write-in candidate, a long shot at best. Many locals argue that her political career has been defined by scandal, poor decisions, and an inability to govern effectively as Dolton and Thornton Township continue to grapple with the fallout from her leadership. The need for change seems inevitable. Chris Gonzalez, the Democratic nominee for Thornton Township trustee, expressed a desire to restore order to the township. "We want to get the township back on track," he said, reflecting the growing consensus that Henyard's approach to leadership has done more harm than good. Once a powerful figure in Dolton, Henyard now stands at a crossroads. Her political future hangs in the balance with the chaos surrounding her leadership, the ongoing federal investigation, and the collapse of her re-election bid, all contributing to her loss of support. The town's future is uncertain, and residents, along with political insiders, are left wondering how much longer Henyard can hold on to power. Change seems imminent for Dolton and Thornton Township, and it appears increasingly likely that Henyard's time in office will soon come to an end. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's time in office has been marred by growing allegations of mismanagement, financial instability, and a series of scandals. Critics argue that her administration has neglected the very residents she was elected to serve, from misusing township resources to failing to address the town's basic needs. The mounting frustrations have led some of her strongest critics to openly call for her resignation. Henyard's tenure has faced significant pushback, particularly from residents and trustees who feel increasingly ignored and frustrated by her handling of the town's affairs. "You should step down as mayor because your administration is failing," one critic said, emphasizing the ongoing concerns about her inability to effectively govern. This frustration has been amplified by the recent boycott of meetings by trustees like Gonzalez and Carlisle, a clear sign of their disapproval and disillusionment with Henyard's leadership. These trustees have voiced concerns about her desire to consolidate more power, particularly in relation to her control over hiring and firing decisions, which critics argue gives her undue influence over local government operations. In defense, Henyard claims that the difficulties facing the town are due to obstruction, not mismanagement. She argues that the lack of insurance for residents and the trustees' boycott are attempts to undermine her leadership. However, many locals view her claims as another attempt to deflect responsibility for the problems her administration has contributed to. Legal threats made by Henyard are seen as desperate attempts to cling to power, while trustees who have stood up to her leadership are praised for their courage. Under Henyard's administration, Dolton has been left in turmoil, grappling with financial struggles and a lack of essential public services. Residents feel their needs have been ignored while she focuses on personal interests. Critics point to her lavish spending on self-promotion, luxury travel, and expensive meals funded by taxpayer dollars as evidence of her disregard for the community's struggles. Many believe that these actions have only worsened Dolton's financial crisis, leaving the town in limbo. The stakes are higher than ever, particularly with Thornton Township's future hanging in the balance. Henyard's ability to overcome growing opposition and secure her place on the ballot is uncertain. Known for avoiding difficult situations and staying silent when under scrutiny, it was a surprise when she issued a brief statement following a damning report by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. The preliminary assessment of Dolton's finances revealed a staggering $3.65 million deficit in the town's general fund, along with allegations of unregulated credit card use, misuse of taxpayer money, and questionable expenditures on perks and self-promotion. Among the report's most shocking revelations was the discovery of $40,000 in Amazon purchases on a single day, with no clear record of what the money was spent on. The report also highlighted an alarming rise in police overtime spending, with one officer reportedly earning $188.00 in overtime pay last year, more than doubling their base salary of $72,000. These findings raise serious questions about how Dolton's finances have been managed, especially given the town's already precarious financial position. Despite these troubling revelations, Henyard has remained largely silent, avoiding questions from the media and keeping workers in the dark about her whereabouts. Trustees, including Brittany Norwood, have voiced concerns about the lack of transparency in Dolton's financial records, fearing that the town's debt may be even larger than originally reported. Norwood has expressed frustration at being denied access to bank statements, fueling suspicions of financial misconduct within Henyard's administration. The most serious allegations against Henyard revolve around her alleged misuse of public funds for personal gain. Critics point to her use of taxpayer money to fund expensive billboards, lavish dinners, and extravagant travel. The recent controversy surrounding Lacey, the deputy chief who was placed on administrative leave after pocketing $96,000 in overtime pay last year, has only added to concerns about the mismanagement of Dolton's resources, with creditors pressing for payment and the town's cash reserves dwindling. Lightfoot's report paints a bleak picture of a community in financial crisis. As the public demands accountability, it remains to be seen whether Henyard can weather the storm or if the mounting evidence will finally catch up with her. Dolton's situation is far from resolved, and with increasing calls for her resignation and an ongoing federal investigation, her political future appears uncertain. As the town grapples with its financial troubles, many are left wondering whether Henyard can overcome the mounting opposition and deliver the change residents desperately need. The stakes are high and the outcome remains to be seen. If you like this video, please like and subscribe for more updates on this ongoing story.